Hi class, I'm Ben, and today I'm going to be talking to you about ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism, or being ethnocentric, is thinking your culture is better than another culture. This can be disastrous, can lead to nationalism, separatism, isolationism, and even racism. It's an especially important topic to talk about, especially regarding all of the things that are going on in the world today. Ethnocentrism examples: a white person telling a black person, go back to Africa, or a white person telling a Mexican, go back to Mexico. We've all heard these before, sadly, but it's the truth, and it needs to be talked about. The topics that I want to cover today are the ones that I researched myself. The who and what concerning the conceptualization of ethnocentrism, the impact of intercultural sensitivity on ethnocentrism and intercultural communication apprehension, that to some degree ethnocentrism is genetic, meaning that it is inherently passed on from mother to child, and consumer behavior, attitudes towards products, and purchasing intentions in relation to ethnocentrism. To start off, Ludwig Gunplowitz. He's Polish, a sociologist, was a jurist and a political scientist. He is actually the one that first coined the use of ethnocentrism in his writings dating back to 1879. What's most interesting about this man is that he is the first one to be noted to use the term, therefore is the father, if you will, of the concept. But most of his work was written in Polish and in German, and it wasn't until the early 1900s that Sumner, a sociologist, was given applause from around the world for the conceptualization of ethnocentrism. In of itself, ethnocentrism only being recognized globally when assimilated into the dominant culture and the dominant language, which was English. His idea was stolen and gave fame to another, the more assimilated Sumner. Even in the coining, there is ethnocentrism. This leads us to the impact of intercultural sensitivity on ethnocentrism and intercultural communication apprehension by Guoming Chen, the University of Rhode Island. Their first hypothesis is that there was a negative relationship between intercultural sensitivity and ethnocentrism. What this means is that people who are more apprehensive about engaging with other cultures have that intercultural sensitivity, which breeds more ethnocentrism, which pushes them further away and makes them more apprehensive to engage in intercultural communication. Hypothesis 2 states there's a negative relationship between intercultural sensitivity and intercultural communication apprehension, like I was talking about before. Both hypotheses were tested and proven in favor. There is a direct negative relationship. Lack of ethnocentrism was predicted by intercultural engagement, which can actually lead to the antithesis of ethnocentrism, which is cultural relativism. Lack of intercultural communication apprehension was best predicted by intercultural enjoyment. Interesting, right? Next, I'm going to talk about nature, nurture, and ethnocentrism in the Minnesota Twin Study, Brian Deandra O'Ray and Hoyung Park, Department of Political Science at Jackson State University. This is a study I read, and it was comprised of 596 complete twins, 356 were identical, 240 were fraternal. What needs to be noted is in this study, all the twins were white. So the study itself, studying ethnocentrism, is in a way ethnocentric. It's ethnocentric in the fact that it's not using a diverse pool of applicants to be researched and studied and surveyed. Okay, moving on. The hypothesis was asking if ethnocentrism could be passed down genetically. The results that came from that proved that about anywhere in the ballpark of about 18% of 100% pie could be from genetics, and other remaining percentage would be from environmental factors. Where you grew up, were your parents Catholic, were they Baptist, were they Taoists, were they Republican, Libertarian, Constitutionalist, were they Black, were they white, were they mixed race, were they Latino? Were you raised by two moms? Were you raised by two dads? Were you raised by a traditional nuclear family example? So many different factors go into this, especially when conducting the survey on ethnocentrism. Consumer ethnocentrism, product attitudes, and purchase intentions of domestic products in China. This is by Julian Xingning and Diet Kui. So 501 middle school students in China were surveyed. The first hypothesis was that there is a positive correlation between consumer ethnocentrism and product attitude. Hypothesis 2 states there's a positive correlation between product attitude and purchase intention. While hypothesis 3 states there is a significant correlation between subjective norm and purchase intention. Hypothesis 4 finally states product attitude has significant mediating effects between ethnocentrism and purchasing intention. The results proved that consumer ethnocentrism was positive in its impact on domestic purchasing attitudes. Domestic products are favored more than foreign products. Now take, for example, myself. I recently bought a lot of new backpacking gear. I know that Swedish companies make all of their material in their own country. They're made by people who are paid full time, full benefits, paternity leave, all of that. I also know from the thousands of reviews and having bought from them myself that their quality is above average in comparison to American made, Chinese made, made in Vietnam, made in Indonesia. So right there, I'm not displaying ethnocentrism. Instead, I'm moving away from it because I know that I have yet to find a company that makes products just as good as the Swedes. So what this is proving, the study in China on middle school students, is that inherently we are brought up in the country of origin to believe that products from the country where we were born are inherently better than products that are made outside of our own country. This goes to say that I'm at Walmart and I want to buy a new t-shirt. Do I buy the one that says made in China or made in America? If I'm American, I'm naturally going to choose this one that says made in America. If I'm Chinese, I may be a little more drawn to get the one made in China. But if I'm Chinese, but Chinese American, I now have ethnocentrism that is translated from China to America because it is now my country of origin and I have adopted its ethnocentric tendencies. So that leads us to the research proposal. During all my research on this topic, I found that there wasn't a lot of it. Demographics were limited. A lot of the studies were just on one group of people, one specific demographic, just like the twin studies was all on white twins, which doesn't give you a good enough grip on the society whole, even in a country like America that is a melting pot, not just white. So what I would like to do is to better understand how far ethnocentrism goes in shaping everyday interactions with humans, whether that be within your own community that you're familiar with, within a community that you're just starting to step into, or when you're communicating with other people in different cultures. Shaping everyday interactions, the attitudes towards other people, the attitudes towards other types of products, marketing schemes, purchasing decisions, political decisions, etc., etc. And that's just where I would start. The subject would be every single type of demographic, every single type of human, from toddlers and choosing different types of toys, from parents choosing different types of political parties to vote for, where to vacation, where to spend their money. Do they want to invest in a Chinese corporation on the stock market because they feel that China is eventually going to surpass that of the USA in GDP? Or do they want to stick and express nationalism that stems from ethnocentrism and then creates isolationism? Some would argue that ethnocentrism helps the domestic economy. And why that is a positive of ethnocentrism, the negatives outweigh ethnocentrism. What we want to lead towards is cultural relativism. So, back to the research proposal. Qualitative study through observances and surveys. It will be self-research. I plan on getting a PhD in communications. Practicalities are going to be the obvious ones. May not be allowed to observe, time constraints, not big enough pool to find definitive answers, anomalies not foreseen. So, what I want to say is that ethnocentrism affects all of us. Type of toothpaste that you want, like I said, type of political party that you want, whether you're going to join a specific protest you want, what kind of snowboard you're going to buy, where it's from. All of those are rooted in ethnocentrism. Now, the number one thing to combat ethnocentrism is to realize you haven't and are experiencing it in the first place so that you can work on it to move yourself closer to cultural relativism, which breeds cohesion, cooperation, and a sense of community. I thank you for your time on this. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy your day.